What's going on, world, on this wonderful Monday? As always, grateful if you're spending time with us. We're so appreciative here on V100 TV, where we just passed 1,000. Actually, we're at like 1.4K subscribers, which is amazing. We did that in about 90 days' time, and it's all because of you guys believing in the content, believing in the purpose. You see funny stuff, you see serious stuff, you see stuff that all reflects truth, and it's not just the mind state of those that are incarcerated, but you also hear from advocates and freedom fighters and the family members of, and of course, we touch on other things like mental health and other things that affect us in our communities. Today, we are up here with Barred Business, and we're getting ready to talk about something that I don't know if quite often we think about when it comes to those that are returning home from incarceration. And that's the different things that they face as far as discrimination. We're in a time now where certain types of people, or all people, should have a certain type of protection, because we know now, even in 2023, certain things aren't promised. We see that with the way that things are. But it's important and imperative that we have people that are being voices for oftentimes people that can't or don't have a voice yet, or are unable to be voiced in a way that it can be heard. It's imperative to have people that are fighting for the right reasons and from a sincere place, and are selfless. So without further ado, as always, I'd like to bring up my guest as part of the platform, Miss Bridget Simpson from Bar Business. How you
Peace.
doing?
I'm
How you
doing
doing?
well. I'm
Peace,
doing well.
peace. Can you please go ahead and, I mean, I kind of spoke a little bit, but can you please just introduce yourself to the world and what Bar Business is, etc. Some quick need to know about what's going on.
Well, peace, everybody. My name is Bridget. I'm a very Jamaican woman. So my name rolls out Bridget. Okay. That's
Okay,
what my
yeah,
grandma
peace.
calls it. But I am here with the organization Bart Business, aka Big B's in the building. So what we do is we pretty much fight for the liberation of people who are justice impacted. Now, what do I mean by justice impacted? I mean people who have interfaced with the legal system, criminal legal system at all, whether you have been arrested for a traffic violation, or whether you have served prison or jail time, whether you've gotten felony probation and you've never touched the inside of a cell. All of those things make you directly impacted, justice impacted, right? And
Right.
then also for the friends and family and the community members who are now a part of your journey with you, because we know that we don't do time alone. So the
Mhm.
folks in our community, they do time with us. They are justice impacted indirectly. And then there are children, right? Like the children that we leave behind, they're impacted. There are the mothers that we leave behind. If you have paid a, anything, if you pay 25 cents for a stamp to send a letter inside, you are justice impacted. And
Right.
that, yeah, so if you want to break that down a little further, we definitely could dig into that. But that is what I mean by justice impacted. So I am a justice impacted person myself. I served 10 years, and I very much believe in language justice, right? I speak of myself as a person. There was a brilliant woman. Her name was Marissa McCall. She passed away a couple years ago. And if there's one thing that she taught me, and me moving through this work, she taught me that I am a human. To
Mm.
identify my humanity in everything that I do. Don't allow anybody to just call me anything, but
Right.
to answer to only what applies to me. And I am a person. So therefore, in everything that I say, I'm a justice impacted person. I'm a
Mm.
formerly incarcerated person. So I'm
Mm.
going to inject my humanity into each and everything that I do. So
Right.
yeah.
One of the things I was reading when I was reading up on Bar Business, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe in your organization, Bar Business, the requirements to be a part of it is you either had to have been incarcerated or have a loved one that's been incarcerated. Is that
Yeah, yeah. So we have some supporters, right? Because everybody needs allies. But in order to be a member, like you have had to have that experience.
right?
Why? Because it makes a difference while we're fighting. It makes a difference.
Right.
So my a couple of my friends that are still inside, their children, I'm really close with their kids. And like no one would understand some of their specific journeys if you have not had that experience. You can advocate for it, right? Like you can advocate for it because as a human being, you can relate to another human being going through a certain life experience. But you have to live it to know and understand what it is. Like
Yeah.
people can talk about what poverty does to communities, but unless you have been without, you really can't speak to it.
Right.
And that cracks me up when there are folks, but it's not funny. I want to name that. When there are like these upper echelon middle class folks that talk about struggle. What you know about struggle, sis? What you know about struggle, bro? Like you can't speak about a person not having an opportunity. Like if you haven't missed any opportunities, you can talk about it, you can advocate, and we appreciate y'all too. But
Yeah.
it's something very different when you know what I'm talking about when I say a noodle, or if
Yeah.
I say, "Oh yeah, we made a burrito."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you understand. You know what I mean when I say we made a burrito, and I'm not talking about,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a burrito that you can get from Moe's, or Chili's or any of those. I'm talking about a burrito that you take a soup,
Break it
cheese
up.
puffs, you
Yeah.
break that thing down, and then you build it back up.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you can't make cheese sauce from scratch, you can't be a member.
If you can't make cheese sauce from scratch, we can't have a conversation.
We
This is
we,
what
we
you
can't
need.
kick it. If you can't make a baked potato out of potato chips,
If you can't make a cake out of a pack of duplex cookies and a soda, we can't have a conversation. You can't
listen,
you can't get on a Zoom call.
you better ask them folks about me. I was the cupcake lady, the cake lady. It didn't
I
matter
tell
what
you,
occasion. I was
killing.
making a cake that looked like, listen here. But if you don't know what it means
You don't,
to be depraved of your freedom and that door slam and you
man.
can't get out, then I'm afraid you really can't be a good member, right? Like you wouldn't be able to fully understand it. And if anybody in your family hasn't gone through that, then you wouldn't fully understand what it's like to choose between your folks eating in prison and your light bills,
No
or
question.
choosing between not speaking to the people that you love for a year so you could get them some soap and personals, because we know that this is an exploitative system. So if you really can't experience that, then Big B's probably isn't the place for you. And we love you, but we
Mm,
love supporters. We love supporters.
yeah,
However, if that is not your direct experience,
yeah.
then yeah.
If you ain't had to go through shakedown to go visit your people,
Woo!
if you ain't ever got a piece of mail shot back to you with a stamp on it and say you didn't use the wrong word out, man.
Mm,
If you man, I just want to say this to the point, not to go all the way off. Give respect to your people that stood with you in the trenches, that
yeah.
went through it. Give respect because they also endured certain things. I spoke on it last night. I can only imagine what my mother felt, and when people ask questions about where I was at, or my wife when we got married
Mm,
and I was in prison. I don't take none of that for granted. So if you watching this and you had somebody standing with you,
mm.
hopefully you still standing with them.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a cousin, right? And she stayed 10 toes with me,
mhm.
like, and you really got to really sit back and just appreciate, like, yeah, man, like that was a journey. It was also a journey for her too.
Yeah.
And my mom lived out of state. So
Mhm.
I was pretty much down here,
Mhm.
and she wasn't here. Like my brothers lived all over,
Mhm.
so I definitely would say big salute, because if you just look at the visitation room, it speaks, especially in a female's prison. Folks don't, yeah, like
Yeah.
like I could speak. My husband, he didn't come. My ex-husband,
Right.
he
Right.
didn't come.
I
He
can
didn't
only imagine. Yeah. I never thought of. Yeah. 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 I get it. So let me ask you this. Well, no, you kind of already spoke on it. I believe it, and I like that. That's what I like about your organization, Bar Business. You do have to know the struggle, and for me, you can fight. Your fight is going to be different when you've been justice impacted, when you've gone through
yeah.
certain things, when you had to navigate through probation and parole. I remember the last time I went to probation when I was able to walk out there. My wife started that truck up like I was walking back out of prison. And I felt like I would walk and to this day, I'm just saying it's just different when you got a group of people that are standing in the trenches together that endured something and they say, you know what? I don't want nobody else to go through that. Or I want to make sure somebody else can get home soon or whatever it is. So salute to you, everybody that's a part of your organization. I want to go into the protected citizen, the protected class thing, the movement, the cause in Atlanta, but just breaking it down, just as far as law, legislator, way we can impact law, the way we can get heard. You recently spoke about attending a public comment. I wasn't able to attend. I'm mad I wasn't able to go, but you guys are active. You know what I'm saying? You're not just, putting up signs on the internet. You're there. Can you speak about all that and what you guys are doing to fight and doing all that? I met 2 of your representatives at Dismiss House. You guys are everywhere.
Yeah, they're pretty litty. Shout out to Muv and Kamara to Griff. Like, shout out to the dynamic duo of a
Right.
couple who both have been in the trenches and took
Mhm.
that experience and have definitely, got out here and got to it, and not just for themselves, but for our prospective communities. I think that's super important. But to jump into the protected class campaign and what the movement means, right? Because it's bigger than just a campaign, it's really a movement. When we thought of what it would look like for the protective class campaign to get started, we thought of like, okay, we're in this ocean, it's dark as ever. Well,
Mhm.
how we gonna find each other? We need a light pole, right? Like, we need one of those light posts in the middle of the ocean, so folks can come and find us, so we
Right.
can find each other. So number one, the goal of the protected campaign is to change legislation. Yes, it is. But more important is to be able to unify justice impacted people throughout the country.
Mhm.
That is the main goal, is for us to be able to use that as a beacon of light, a North Star, so that we can find each other, build power, and transform our lives in a larger way, in a more substance way, right? Like, because right now, like, the changes that we're getting, right, folks are chipping off at the block, and we're grateful for all changes, right, for all advocates, all advocacy that happens. People are chipping the ice, but we want the block gone. We want the iceberg gone.
True
So we
indeed.
are looking for right now tangible changes. We want stuff that we could see and feel today. We
Right.
want our changes right now. Right now, I feel like I'm in church, right? Because I know, like, it's like, call and response. I want my changes when? Right now. I want it right now.
It's
Like,
past due. It's past due. And then when I think about it, the brief conversation I had with you and the two other members of your organization, and just my personal experience, what often gets overlooked by the community and society is when somebody goes to prison, the sentence doesn't end when they walk out the prison. They're still being judged. There's still a sentence, whether it's court fines, restitution, parole. They're unable to get certain jobs or live. There are so many hurdles and obstacles. And what's twisted, I'm gonna speak this, let you jump back on,
mhm,
is we're expected to come home and be successful. You
right
know,
away, right
we're
away.
we're, we're expected. And I speak, my situation was different. I walked into a great situation, but everybody's situation is not like that. A lot of people come home, they don't have the resources, they don't have the money to get a vehicle, they don't have the way to get to a job, they don't have certain things, and then they're limited. They're stuck in a
Mhm.
box, and they got to get a job that only pays $12.95. I just wanted to speak about that as a point of thought. Anybody that's watching this, the punishment continues, and this is why it's important to what Bridget's speaking about as far as protected class and fighting. But go ahead, and because I just had to speak to that.
And whenever you feel so led to speak, please, we up in the church house. Speak when you
Hey,
gotta speak.
I'm
If
trying
it's
to
something
tell
that
you,
got to come out, if there's an amen, let it be.
man.
But but our sentences are open-ended. That's number one, right? Like, our sentences, they never end. They
Right.
just really start at our point of release, right? Like, so I was so excited. I remember my cousin got me this little green outfit. Like, I picked it out on Amazon. I still got my boots and my little shirt and everything. And
Mhm.
I remember being so excited, just thinking that the world would just be my oyster. Ooh, why they lie to me like that? Why did they lie to me like that? See, at least when we were within the confines of jail and prison, at least we knew how we stood with people, right?
It was
Like we
structured. It was
knew it was
controlled.
them, it was us. It wasn't no togetherness, right? Unless folks was personal dealing,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that wasn't togetherness. That was like taking advantage, but whatever. That's a whole nother episode.
No
But
question.
but if you think about it, like when you come home and you're not sure, right? Like people are like, "Oh, amazing. Oh, come on." And then they run your background. "Oh no. I don't have anything to do with you. Oh
Yeah.
no, you can't live at my spot. Oh
Yep.
no, you can't. Oh no, no. I remember Lyft and Uber was like, "Oh, is this you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me. It's me." And
Man.
like Airbnb, like the fact that Airbnb won't allow us to be anywhere on their properties, that's a whole nother monster in itself. But when we were inside, it was something a little different, right? Because again, we knew where we stood. But the real punishment comes when you don't even know where you stand.
Nah.
I remember, let me tell you, I came home. Oh, I thought I met my boo. I thought me and him, we was walking down the aisle,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, my cousin said, tell him that you are formerly incarcerated. I'm like, why? It's over. It doesn't count anymore. I'm fabulous. I'm released. That doesn't count anymore. Honey, he went from trying to take me down the aisle to treating me like I had like a big
Hey,
S on my chest and it wasn't for Superman.
we all go through it. We've all. I think anybody that's been out here for a sec, they've had that moment, and it might have came when it was least expected from somebody you didn't expect it to come from. Because that's how
Yeah.
mine came. I was shocked. We went from thick as thieves, whatever it is, to the next day. Like I was like, whoa, okay. There
Yeah.
go that judge. There go that judge. But that's what we face in society.
And no one could ever prepare you for that. And it
No.
never feels any better. And it doesn't matter how much we talk to ourselves, it never improves. Like,
Yeah.
even if you prep yourself in the mirror and you're like, hey, I'm that person, I'm this, I'm all of the things. And then someone does it to you. And then
Yeah.
it's your family members, right? Like some of them. I remember I purchased a house. Well, what did she do to get the house? I'm like, oh, gee, thanks. Gee,
Yo.
thank you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
well, how did she get to travel out the country? Well, I just applied for a passport. You could do it too, boo.
I worked hard, then I got online, and I found. And I feel.
But it's just like people don't understand like just some of the collateral consequences that
There you go.
surround incarceration. So ultimately, it's like double jeopardy. So if you're going to give me the never ending sentence post, incarceration, then that means why are you even locking me up in the first place? Because if I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life, like, why did you take money up front and on the back? Like, because it's the small print, right? It's the
Yeah.
small print that takes away like our humanity.
There
It's
you
the
go.
small print that takes away you being able to be a caretaker
Yeah.
for a aging mom, you being able to be a caretaker for a child, you being able to be a caretaker, period.
Yeah.
I have a few friends right now who are caring for their aging parents and they cannot be caretakers, not legally. You cannot
You can
participate
have
in the
access to
adoption
the
process.
resources. Yeah.
You can't participate the adoption process. You cannot travel. You cannot have global entry. You cannot, it's so many things that you cannot do, right? Like there's some states in Florida, you can't have your driver's license. You right now, like folks, shout out to the folks in Florida that did the big fight for folks to be able to vote. And then, like you think about it, like folks fought so hard. And right directly after folks voted, they tried to arrest them.
What I was
For
about to go on
voting.
to, I was going to go into a Florida tangent. I'm not. Florida, Florida's crazy. They're trying to, they're trying to pay anybody. Shout out to Florida real quick. They're literally Ron DeSantos. They got a
Oh my gosh,
law.
he's different. He hit real different. Okay, we're not
Yeah,
even.
yeah. I'm not gonna go all the way in, but just so y'all know, they're literally trying to pass a law that's gonna ban any so-called minority sororities, frats, etc. Like it's crazy. They don't want art history to be
Anti-woke.
taught. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Pay attention to Florida, because what's dangerous is if it becomes okay in a place like Florida, it could become okay in a place like North Carolina or Virginia. It can trickle. So just pay attention, y'all, and ask yourself, what can you do?
And that's the same energy that I want folks to think about when it comes to the protected campaign.
Got to.
Because if we can make it a thing in Atlanta, we can make it a thing in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We can make it a thing, you know,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And they can stop one person, they can stop maybe two people. But if we keep popping up, how they gonna stop all of us?
Right. No question.
You
And
know,
once
so
once one of us gets through, we got the blueprint.
and that's it. And that's exactly what Bart Business did. We created the blueprint so that our folks can be able to replicate it. Like we'll be dropping our toolkit pretty soon. It's really litty. We dropping the short version, longer version. So for folks who make it through the first version and are like, oh my gosh, I need some more meat. We got the meat for you. We got the potatoes, what you need. We got it. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the point is we want to be able to draft a pathway to freedom. Because as a justice impacted person, if we break it down constitutionally, we know that we aren't free, right? So folks are celebrating Juneteenth, and we know that Black folks who are justice impacted are not free. The 13th Amendment, it took that away, right? Like, so it freed some Black folks, right? With the intention of recapturing everybody else, because they were then arresting people for just standing around, right? And once you've been impacted by the carceral state, then you are permanently bound to that, right? You are an indentured, you are a servant. That's what it says. And I'm not making it up. The 13th Amendment says it, right?
Yeah,
You don't have to take it.
y'all. Check it out.
Y'all don't have to take my word for it, right? That I'm not asking you to. Study and figure it out for yourself, right? So the 13th Amendment, it takes that away from us. Like whatever it is, everybody free, kind of, right? But then it goes down, except if you have been in contact with the law.
No question.
Right? So that was done on purpose. Because if we do and we dig through the history of this legal system, we know where it comes from, right? We know that it's rooted in capitalism. We know that it's rooted in exchange for money. We know that, right? And if you're thinking about it with the CEO, because we know that private prisons are traded on the stock exchange. You can look it up. Please, I'm asking you, audience, don't take my word from it. I'm just a girl from Jamaica.
Yeah, just research prison labor. That's it.
Just research it.
Yeah, just that. Those two words. That's it.
And when you look that up and you understand that chain gangs, where they came from, the purpose of them, why they're here, and it's to be able to extract labor from folks. Yeah, there's some things in the middle, but there's always things in the middle, right? Like life is really shades of gray. But if you look at the fundamentals, if you look at the skeleton of how this system was created and what it was created for, and when it was created, right? Because it was created after the war that freed Black people, right? Right. So it was created after, and the police was created as slave catchers.
Yeah,
and then catch folks and then turn them.
And then we stood in front of juries that nobody on that jury reflected anything close to us, because we weren't allowed to be jury. We weren't allowed to be jury members. We weren't allowed to be law enforcement. We weren't allowed to be any of that. So then we were retrapped into a system. And then you see, all you're seeing, let me break down real quick. Quick little what you're saying is, in my own way, you look at prison buses now, those are slave ships. We were strapped in the ships. When you're on a prison bus getting transferred to a new institution or prison, you strapped at your wrists, your waist, and your ankles. When you go to court, you stand on that block in front of the judge and all them people, and the judge throw numbers at you. Back in the day during slavery, you stood on the block and they threw numbers at you. When you go to prison, you get paid 27 cents an hour, maybe
We didn't
45.
get paid. We
Yeah,
didn't
some
get
states
paid.
don't get paid at
Yeah,
all.
we didn't get paid.
Where I was at, they even got good pay was enterprise job was 62 cents an hour, I think, something like that. But nonetheless, they're making millions of dollars off you. Off your work alone, we was doing contracts for colleges. And let me tell you something. We still picking those fields. We still at Powhatan Correctional Center, and they still on the horses with their 6 shooters and cowboy hats. If you think it's gone, it's just
Look
a
at
new thing.
Angola.
Yeah,
Ask folks, pull out your phones and go look at Angola.
man, pull it up.
Angola, they are still picking cotton. They are still picking cotton. Now, yes, there are some things in the middle, right? Like there are some things in the middle. And then we also need to look at
Yeah,
those things in the middle. We need to also look at the communities that are impoverished and how we are set up to go through the system, right? There is a whole pipeline. There
yeah,
are tests that they give children, and based on the test scores, they make jail cells for them.
yeah.
So that the goal is to funnel us
Pipeline.
through it.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
want to funnel us through it because this entire country was made off of free labor. That is how America was able to amass its wealth, and it's through the slave trade. And
yeah,
please don't take it from me,
yeah.
little
Just
girl from Jamaica. Please
yeah,
don't take it from me, but just read.
just research prison labor. And I want to kind of shift the conversation. And you spoke on it. We got to do more proactive work, y'all. We got to do We got to get proactive services in the communities, specific communities to even stop. We got to. The reactive work is good. After they come home is good. Fighting that's great, but we got to stop them from even going that way.
Mhm.
But I want to shift into the advocacy side, into the freedom fighter side, into whatever it is that people may call it, those that are fighting for a just cause. One of the things I noticed, I'm gonna speak on it. Um, the majority of people I come in contact with, not all, are women. The majority of those that are fighting right now for people that are incarcerated. Again, I'm not saying this is everybody's experience. I'm just saying it's been my experience for the last 3 years. Me and the fellas were few and far. Um, we kind of touched on it briefly before we hopped on here. How important is it not just to get the men involved, but maybe people that have been through incarceration because they caught drug charges, or people, just certain people and demographics? How important is it to pull specific people, including the men, to reach out to the youth, to be proactive, to get involved with the being a voice? Just can you speak to that?
Well, I think it's especially at this day and age, it's imperative. Again, I'm going to always invite people to do research. If you look at the population, Black folks, we are a minority. We are a minority, and we make up the majority of the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
Of the majority of the prison system, when you break it down, 48% of those are Black men, right? Like it's, you got to break that down.
Yeah.
And it should leave you baffled, like how have we allowed this to happen? And here at Bar Business, we are here for justice impacted people, our communities, their families, however they show up, however they look, right? Like we're here for them. So
Mm-hmm.
like with us, I remember saying to Chris, like, I believe that it's really, really important for us to be able to reach our men. I am not a Black man. I'm a Black woman, right? I can think of creative things and how we can help structure a support group, how we can do some preventative measures. But at the end of the day, like, I cannot be that voice because that does not represent me 100%, right? And ultimately there is something that is needed in familiarity, like with a man to a man, a boy to a man, that
Right.
folks will understand. Let's just be transparent. Like I'm not going to be as comfortable in spaces where it's male dominated, versus me being able to talk to my cuz, right? Like and me
Right.
being able to, oh, this happened and this happened, there will always be some type of cap on it. And
Yeah.
it's not on purpose, but it's just about comfortability. But
Yeah.
whatever the rhythm is that we need to find, we need to find it. We need to have support groups so that folks, especially younger folks, can talk about what they're feeling. Because when they keep it inside, if someone is hungry, like there might be a certain amount of pride that's there, that's like, okay, my mom is experiencing this or my parents are experiencing this and I'm hungry, because if contrary to what popular demand or popular opinion is, most people don't just go and steal because they want to steal. They steal because they're hungry. They
Mm.
steal because they're in a depraved situation, right? So if there's no space for that young man to say, hey, like, I need to figure out a different way. Can you help me, bro? Like, can you
Yeah.
help me? It would be easier for him. And this is just my assumption, right? But I'm thinking that it would be easier for me to be able to say, hey, like, I am going through XYZ to someone that could potentially be going through the same thing that I have been through.
No question.
So I think it's really, really important for us to figure out how we can reach our youth, right?
Mm.
Like, we have to be able to prevent them from ending up on the slave ship.
No question.
And that's not going to it's not just going to be a Black woman job. It's going to take our entire village, which
Right.
means it's going to take a Black man, a Black woman. It's going to take all the Black people in the village, everybody. It's going to take us all. It's going to take the fellow Black children. It's going to take us all to be able to really, like, shift the pendulum. It's going to have to happen,
Yeah.
because at the rates that we're going now, like, we're going closer and closer and closer. The laws are changing every single day,
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
Like, now, they're physically wanting to castrate people. Like, I'm not going to get into, like, whatever it was, right? Like, because they'll find the most egregious thing and they'll start there and then they'll work their way down.
Yeah.
They'll work their way down. Pretty soon, people who shoplift won't have any fingertips. We
Yeah.
just have to be able to pay attention and to get out of the places that we're married to, right? Because if you think about it, a lot of us are married to the narratives that folks have fed to us.
Yeah.
Like
Stereotype.
the convict, the inmate. Oh, a lot of us folks, when they see me coming by, they start clutching their bags. Like,
Yeah.
folks at work, once they find out that it is what it is, then folks start to shift. They
Yeah.
start to feel uncomfortable. If there's a cent or something missing, automatically it's you.
Right.
So what that implies is that we have bought into the status quo. We bought into it.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
bought into exactly what we're fighting against. So that means that we also got to be deprogrammed, right?
Yeah. We
So we got to
definitely.
deprogram while we're trying to help others get deprogrammed. So
Yeah.
we also got to buy into it, right?
Mm.
Like, we have to be able to drink, first of all, we got to be able to drink the juice that we're selling. We got to be able to drink it for ourselves. We can't talk about liberation if we're not willing to divorce some of the things that we are married to, the
Yeah.
comfortabilities and the trappings that capitalism has given to us, right? The thinking that we have to step on somebody in order to elevate, when
Yeah.
that's not true. When we all could be on the same level and all have the same resources,
That's it.
because capitalism is what creates poverty.
That's it.
The have and the have nots. That's capitalism. That
It's
doesn't make you fly. That doesn't make you successful because you have and your brother doesn't.
yeah.
That doesn't make you, that
It
makes you
breeds.
selfish.
It breeds what it breeds too in society. You're seeing violence is going up, crime is going up. You're seeing a gap now between the haves and the have-nots with the recession and inflation. There's so much, but again, when I think about justice impacted people, the majority of the vast percentage of us, we're on a lower level when it comes to finances. Why? We don't have financial literacy. We just don't know certain things. We don't have access to resources,
Mhm.
all the things that you spoke on. And that's why it's important Start doing your research. Don't take things for granted. Don't just watch the news and say this is what it is. I'm not. We got to get better than that. And another thing too that's dangerous, not just taking information from what we see as credible sources of information, what we've been programmed to think, but also taking information from our homeboy or our homegirl and running with it too. Check behind them. Take nothing for face granted. Get the information. Get the information. Study it yourself, and then you got something to stand on, and then you can apply it and you can move forward. There's a time. We're at a time now, 2023. It's weird here in Atlanta. I'm gonna speak on really, really quick as we're bringing this to a close. The RICO laws. It's a new way of targeting the youth. They're using the way we express ourselves. I'm not even talking about the specific case that you might hear about in the news, because there's other RICO indictments going on in the city of Atlanta right now.
They're charging protesters with RICO.
Oh,
They're charging folks like me with RICO. They're charging folks with domestic terrorism. They are definitely using the law to weaponize and again get what? Free labor. Because when people are sat down, they're giving people 20 years, 10 years, like folks that have these RICO charges, because they're saying that folks are conspiring to be free. So if folks look, there's an anti-woke rhetoric that's out. And they are the ones that have the power to create these laws. And because we would rather be in some Gucci, we're not paying attention, and we're not at the tables where they're creating the laws. I don't care if they want me there or not. I'm showing up. I don't care if I fully understand it. I'm recording it, and when I go home, I'm going to dissect it.
You better bet it.
Because these things directly impact us. And it doesn't matter if you're comfortable, you're making your 150, you're making 200, maybe millions. They're using, folks that are entertainers as examples of the great, they use them to believe like, okay, Black people can do whatever they want to. Look at these folks. Look at these folks. And then behind the scenes, really look at them.
Yeah.
They're really not helping our community. They're harming us.
Where's the substance? Where's the value?
You look at it. We're not sitting at the tables that we need to be at. Shirley Chisholm said, if there is not a seat at the table, bring your fold-up chair. Bring your chair to be at the table. Because if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. And for far too long, we have been on the menu. And we have to have seats at the table. And at Bar Business, that is our goal. And if we cannot be at that table, we're going to make our own table. And we're going to invite who we want on our table. Because that is the goal, to be able to build political power, build political strength, and build political understanding. We have to be able to understand these laws. The laws ain't in the clubs.
Yeah.
They not in the clubs. They not at the Gucci store.
They not on your timeline 9 times out of 10.
They not up there, and they do this on purpose to distract us.
They're not in the Hellcat. They're not in the track hall.
And if you think about it, the more they distract us, and the more they make us think that these are the things that we need, guess what happens? We tend to dance on the line to try to ascend to some goals that in reality, like, we ain't never gonna reach it. You think Ronald Reagan ancestors, and you think Trump and those folks, you think that they really want us to party with them? Not in real life.
It's so odd that if we could only figure it out, if the quote unquote, I just from an athlete standpoint, not for any other comparison, but when the players find out that they own the league. When we start to decommit from certain things, if we all just say, you know what, we're not going to buy from Nike for the next year. We just somehow agreed. When you can impact and affect somebody financially, especially these bigger companies, brands, giant, when you start impacting them and their pockets, guess what? You got their attention. And all we got to do is so crazy. All we got to do is something like, we're not going to spend money on this brand, or we're not going, it's really, but I don't know how we get it.
That's what the protected class is for, right? That's the beacon of hope, that North Star that I was talking about. The first step is to be able to get together, That is our goal, for us all to be able to get together so that we could sit and we can build. Because that's
Mhm.
the first thing, right? We have a crisis of identity, number one, right? Because some folks are still trying to blend in. Hey, we justice impacted. They're not going to let you forget. So now what you have to be able to do is own it, right?
Scarlet
We have
letter.
to be able to own it. And that's what that flag is for, right? Like that is what the beacon of hope is for. It is for justice impacted people, for us to be able to unite. So, hey, folks, y'all don't want to give us change? Okay, we're not voting for you. Oh, Nike. Oh, y'all want to employ us? Oh, no worries. We're not buying for you. And we're gonna make sure that our family members don't do it either.
So
Oh, what?
that's it.
What is it? What? Benz, Mercedes, you don't want us to drive your cars? Oh, oh, don't worry. Airbnb, oh, we can't stay there? Okay, no worry. We're
That's it.
not going to stay there. We're going to make sure that all the justice impacted people, if you think about it, in the state of Georgia, there are 10.8 million people.
Mhm.
4.6 of those people are justice impacted. That's
No
almost half the population.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
almost half the population.
Yeah.
Now, if all of us, we don't buy Nike, that'll hurt them.
It's really that like it no like the biggest action we can take is committing no action when you think about it. You just stop committing certain action. We ain't even asking you to do something. We just ask you stop doing something. Save some money. Take that money you was gonna spend on that on that and put it in your pocket. Invest it in some land. Invest it into something that you can hang on to.
Yeah, but
Um,
see, we have to show our folks, right? So I know we're about to get ready to wrap up, but one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to talk about a problem without giving a solution.
let's get it.
And BART business, that's what we're here for. We're here to be a solution. We are solution oriented because guess what? The problem is what's getting people paid. So people are not trying to get to a solution. We are. We want to get so free that we don't have these jobs, right? That we don't do this. We don't have to do this, right? Because we will have been so cohesive that we could tell Nike, oh, you don't want to sponsor the Pox Festival? Don't worry. Don't worry. You won't sponsor nothing else.
Right.
Well, we can have that if we do the very fundamental thing of getting together. So
Yeah.
that's the first and necessary step. We need you. We need you to be a part of the movement. We need you to be a part of the solution. We
Yeah.
have a new campaign that's out and it's called POTS. And that's exactly what it means to be part of the solution. So we could sit and we could talk and we could drill the problem into the ground. But the problem is not going to bear any good seeds. It's not going to bear fruit. The
Mhm.
solution will. So that's what we're here for. We need you. If you're justice impacted, I see down on the bottom of the screen, nice and fancy like, is www.bartbusiness.org. Sign up, be a member, be a part of the solution. Be a part of the solution. We know what the problem is:
That's it.
collateral consequences, a forever sentence. But we could change that.
Sure
I
indeed.
can't change it by myself, but we could change that. If
Mhm.
you want to go fast, you go alone.
You
But
wanna
if
go
you want to go far, we got to do that thing together.
Yeah, true indeed. Bridget, wonderful interview, super impactful. I felt like we went to church right there.
You know,
you know what I'm saying? You got me. It's been a great day in advocacy land, as I call it. I've talked to some great people today, then, ending the evening right now with this conversation. Definitely, anytime you want to get back up here and speak to anything that you or Bar Business got going on, definitely want to extend that invite to you. Anything, matter of fact, before we go, I got the website up, but is there any other information, any events, anything people need to know about Bar Business, etc.? What's going on with you guys, real quick?
so right now, as folks know that we are neck to neck right now with the folks at the city of Atlanta. Right now, we are fighting to become a protected class. We became a protected class via an ordinance back in October. But after doing further research, we discovered that, hey, in the very constitution of the city of Atlanta, which is its Bill of Rights, we aren't included as a justice, as a protected class. So we started to do that research and we asked, like, hey, why aren't we here? And then it was like a lot of stuttering, a lot of tripping. So we geared up to fight. So that's where we are right now. But this fight isn't an easy fight. So we need to do a lot of narrative shifting, like I seen one of the members of the audience says. So what we need videos. We need videos from family members. We need videos from people who are directly impacted. We need videos from community members, because we're going to have to be able to show people who we are outside of a number, outside of anything that's associated with prison jails. We need to be able to show people our humanity. So we invite you to come to public comment. We're going to be in City Hall in the next 2 weeks, 2 Wednesdays from next week, Wednesday.
Keep me
We'll be at
posted on
City
this
Hall.
upcoming one too.
Yeah. So we need you to come. The goal is to be able to flood the room and to talk about collateral consequences and how they impact our lives on the daily, and how we can be the solution, how you can be a part of the solution. So that's a great place to start. Jump on our website, sign up for membership. And believe me, ask Chris, I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna say, hey,
Indeed.
let me get that video. What's going on?
Indeed.
How's wifey? She got the video for me. Like, so yes, we're gonna get to this thing together, because I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. I don't want to be in freedom without you. So
yeah. Well, let me again, I want to say thank you. It's good to have sincere people up here. Sometimes, just being honest, sometimes you can just tell how invested people are. I'm super transparent on my platform. And it's just good to meet people like you. It's refreshing. I met some real fighters today. When anybody that's fighting for the right cause, it can become exhausting. You can get sucked down the rabbit hole, so to say. You can be on an island sometimes. And when you find other people that they're going through a similar experience, they fighting for it, so you can look over it. It gives you a little bit more push, man. So salute to you, Bridget. Is there anything that you want, like a final message to the world? Some jewels, advice, inspiration, motivational piece, whatever it is that you want to share to anybody that's going to see this content, anybody that's on this live, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to own who you are, right? So like, I remember coming home and my grandma was so mad at me for about a year because I told people that I was incarcerated. So once you own, and whatever you own that people could potentially use against you, it then becomes your power, right? Like, I remember, there are actresses that had like, larger noses, and they got their nose repaired and they weren't them anymore, and they didn't get any more gigs. So I just want to tell people to be your authentic self. Be who you are. Be who God created you to be, because you can't be anybody else. And then once you fully accepted who you are, come on and fight.
Yeah.
Come on and fight. It is your duty to fight for freedom, and it is your duty to win. We have to love one another, and we got to support one another, because we have nothing to lose but our chains. So join us. We don't have anything quite as fancy as Chris, but on Fridays we have something that's more like the this is Macy's. We the corner store. So you can slide through the corner store on Friday.
Yeah. Corner store got all the snack. They got the best.
So you can tell folks to slide through on our IG page at Bart Business on all platforms. Follow us, come show us some love. But even if you don't follow us, follow yourself and come to City Hall and comment so you could get free.
Yeah.
Nike ain't gonna free you. Gucci ain't gonna free you.
Oh, they ain't even gonna give you no money. They ain't gonna give you no money if the car break down. They not gonna check on you if you sick. But guess who will? Never mind.
Big B's, we coming. Yeah. We don't leave no soldiers left behind. So man. Yeah.
Salute Bridget again. Thank you. Salute the Bar Business. Make sure you follow them on social media at Bar Business. Go check them out on IG. Their website, www.barbusiness_protected/campaign. Make sure you get up there. If you want to become active, sign up, become a member. Costs you nothing but a little bit of your time, maybe some of your voice. Maybe you got to walk some places, right? But it doesn't take much. If we all just do a little bit, it's going to add up to a whole much punch more. You said something, and I'm gonna end it with this. Be yourself, like she just said. It is so freeing when you can be transparent, when you can really walk and not just your past, but what gave you the power to be who you are today. Don't let that go over your head. Have a good evening. It's Monday. It's a wonderful start of the week, man. You blessed if you breathing. This is 100 TV, and we out. Thank you as always. See you next time. Peace.